here we go, and it's podcast number... That's a bit too subdued, isn't it? Don't we do the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, for those in attendance and for the millions around the world. Are you ready to talk fishing? Podcast number 6, I believe, Dylan?
6, yep, number 6. So first of all, thanks again for Shimano getting around the podcast and that. So Tommy's away. Tommy's currently in Darwin, so she's going to be a bit broken up, isn't she, Hooch? We're going to be throwing around all sorts of new technology, and I don't even know what's going to go on without Tom. We'll be a bit lost, but we might as well start.
Tom's up the Northern Territory. No one really knows why. I think he's an international man of mystery. He hasn't shared too much, but I think he's spending a lot of time around the pool and the spa and the bar. So, reports. There's a few in, Dylan. Let's hear what you've got, mate.
Yeah, righto. So I got out for the weekend, but first of all, we'll run through a couple. So we got Arthur Widdock, first of all, winner of the KAA Bronte area competition that was held yesterday, so I'm guessing that would be on Sunday. Arthur put in a big day on Lake Echo, walking 12 kilometres and a total of 6 fish. He also managed to catch 1 fish in Bronte Lagoon. I fished Bronte Lagoon as well, so we'll touch on that in a bit after some of these reports that we got. It'll be interesting to see how Lake Echo fish. So this weekend, the Lonnie Angling Club will have their competition up Lake Echo. I'm pretty sure touch go with the whole hydro situation, because I'm not really sure what the go is there with the boat ramps, because they said they were closed and then they said they'd touch base on Wednesday and then they didn't, and then they said some are open, so God knows what will happen. But with any luck, we'll get up there and we'll have our Lake Echo comp. But yeah, good fish there from Arthur. We got Jared Strong caught another big fish out of the Derwent, another big trout. Looks as to be, looks a bit residential, but probably caught on sea runner sort of style patterns. And the last sort of report we got sent in, because the weather was yet again shocking on the weekend. I almost got through another weekend without wetting a line, changed my mind and went for a local afternoon shore session. The brim were non-committal, so went down deep for a few on the ZX and finished with a couple on the MW, and then it rained again. Sounds about right. So yeah, a couple of nice brim. Sort of seen a couple of other sort of reports come through just through sort of the Facebook scheme. So we got one here just coming from one of the local groups. From Dave Risley, Mad Arvo Sesh in the Jordan River, it says, and it's got a couple of photos there of a nice brown trout. So there is trout in the Jordan River after I went up there and caught brim in that weekend down the Derwent a few weeks ago. So that was interesting, but lovely fish out of the Jordan River there. We also got another one that Tom touched wood on. Pretty cool sea run trout from Bridport, from Damon Sheriff. I've run into this lady before and landed this fish 3 times over the last 2 seasons, and she's a bit of a cracker. So, yeah, that's a couple of interesting fish there that Tom sort of noted out. So we do have a little bit of a schedule, but apart from that, with my weekend, so I spent my weekend up the Highlands. So I fished Lake Crescent. I went there, stayed there Friday night, then stayed at Bronte Lagoon Saturday. So we fished Lake Crescent. I actually managed to pull 1 fish out of there in the spillway there, which sometimes when the water flows really fast, fish will actually creep down into the Clyde River. And when the Clyde River is pretty full, which it's hard to tell because like we had heaps of rain, but there was no water in the Clyde River. They had just completely stopped the flow, which it sort of obviously depends on whether they want to keep water in Crescent or they don't. So it's like you can't find it out online or anything like that. But when that's up, there's some great fish in there that are like super fun to catch because you fish in a creek that is 3 meters wide and you're pulling out trout that are 8 pounds and just right at your feet. It's pretty exciting. So yeah, we had a bit of a look at that, and I managed one fish out of there that was 4 pound, which was pretty good considering the water was about up to my ankles. And then yeah, we got that fish back up into the actual top bit because a lot of trout die like down the bottom when it gets really hot because the water temperature gets really hot because it's such low water, and then like throughout summer it doesn't really get much flowing water down to it. So yeah, and then after that we fished crescent the Saturday, and it was a lot higher, but there's still the weeds and stuff off it because I like to fish the reedy areas on crescent, and often like you've got reeds that'll stick out of the water, but then in front of that, as you can see with me nice little hand signals, there's a lot of weed and stuff like that in the water, and when it's high enough, that weed will stand straight up. So then you can cast your lure in and bring it past the weed. But when it's low, that weed will spread out flat. And we just caught up that many times. Like it was just cast, crank a hard body, and then all of a sudden you'd be on the weed. So we didn't spend too much time on Crescent, the actual lake, Saturday. So then we cruised over to the Brady's chain. We put in at Lake Binney, just off the gravel there, because we hydro boat ramps were closed. There was nothing about it, and like there were still people that were using them. So I just thought I'd be safe and put not in an official boat ramp and just basically off the side of the road. And yeah, we fished Brady's, which I managed 2 nice trout on the 63 Fish Australia fat shads in fire trout. So just green, orange, just ripping the lure in front of their head, just getting that aggression bite. And then we were fishing on the wind-blown shores, just whichever way the wind was pegging onto the bank. And then the wind got a bit exy, so we went into Binney for a bit of shelter. And Tyler, the fellow I was fishing with, he got one nice little brownie out of Lake Binney. Plus we had a couple of hits in there. And then, yeah, that pretty much summed it up for Saturday. And then we went to Bronte Lagoon. You go.
Bronte Lagoon on the Sunday, yep.
Yeah, we went to Bronte. We had to return the favour. I think it was about last year. I had lost my boat off Lake Echo. It got blown off when I walked to get my car. I had someone come up and say the same thing to me. They were like, on Saturday night, they're like, my boat is drifted away from the boat ramp. Can you put your boat in and go and get it for me? So we went and got his boat, and he was all happy, and then we just pulled her up to the ramp, and pulled her up to where we were camping, and Tyler was like, I've only ever used a bait caster once, because I take a bait caster with me when I'm trout fishing, just for those larger, heavier style lures. I'm like, yeah, no worries. Had this shocking cast, basically landed in a bush right next to the boat, and we just drove the boat in there about 5 minutes ago, so it had just had wake and everything, like not fast because you're going to the bank, but still we've cruised the boat up, stumbled out of it, and yeah, about 2 meters from the boat, just fishing this lure back, and this nice trout out of Bronte, about 1.5 pounds, came up and ate it right at the back of the boat. So we thought, nah, we're on. So we went in tomorrow, we went in Sunday, and got 2 fish, pretty quick succession in the morning, and it was just a slogfest. Like, it just completely shut off as that sun comes up, which it definitely can do in your smaller systems that are clear of water. When the sun comes up and it's just bright sun, just shuts them down. But yeah, that's basically my weekend. So not bad. We managed 7 fish between us, but it could have been a lot better. But
I want to hear more about the boat escaping, and I think it's great that you managed to return the favour, because it's something that can happen a bit when that wind gets up. You pull your boat up and you think it's far enough, and then all of a sudden the water laps and away you go. So was that at night? Was it pitch black when the guy came to you and you had to help him out?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't pitch black. It was probably about an hour before daylight, and it wasn't too far from the boat ramp. It was just basically 5 or so.
Oh yeah, cool. That's
meters
cool.
Almost.
So the fish that you caught, most of those, of course, released, but did you keep any?
We actually managed to we kept 3, so had a bit of a feed. I've actually got a trout sitting in the fridge at the moment, and Dean, with your culinary expertise, you got a little suggestion.
I remember Dean's been going to tell us about this recipe for quite some time, so that'd be good to. No one laments anyone harvesting a trout, but it is tricky making them to taste as good. Sometimes as saltwater fishermen, we get a bit spoilt because some of those fish are tasty in their own right. Trout, for my mind, a little bit tricky to make tasty, but Dean, you've got something up your sleeve. Let's hear it.
Bit of a naughty number for you guys. Yeah, for everyone, really. It's, I call it the TNTEP. It's a Tasmanian trout on papillon, which is the worst pronunciation of a French item you ever heard. We'll combine a little niçoise salad in there. But if I can imagine, if I was out fishing all day, caught a whole bunch, sent the whole back, and I got my favourites left over, I don't want to do too much prep work and spend 45 minutes, 50, an hour and a half just getting ready to cook. So absolutely not okay. So what I've done a little combination meal here. It's just going to take all the effort out. I mean, the hardest part's going to be gutting the fish, which, you leave those up to the experts. I'm sure there should always be one on board. But, rightio. Starting off with the trout. Once you're at home or on the boat with a fresh trout or two, gut them from tail to tip. And for you squirming about the thought of faces on fish, look, just cut them off. I'm a firm believer that I just want to see the flesh and get amongst into it. I don't want to have the conversation with, I don't know, Daryl or Brent, whoever it was that was called, the poor thing. It's hard enough. Timmy Trout. So once you've gutted them, cleaned them all up, gills, scales, all off, she's ready to go. Step 1 is complete. So that's one you can actually do whilst you're on the boat. Save yourself some time. Get ahead of the game, my friends. Next we're going to work on the salad. So we're doing a little bit Tassie version. So in this really low down, easy to go kind of step-by-step guide, we're up to step 2. Step 2, per fish. Grab a handful of them classic Tassie pink eye potatoes, handful of green beans, handful of cherry toms, some black olives, pitted. But to taste, I'm pretty sure you know how many olives you like. A bit of olive oil and some salt and pepper. Set it aside. Step 3, we're going to semi-cook our potatoes. Potato salad style. So as soon as you think you're ready, it's a bit too long. Take them off before then. Step 4, we're filling the fish. So we're going to lay some baking paper down, 1 sheet, spray it with some cooking oil, or just lay down some olive oil so the fish doesn't stick to it. And then we're going to move on to step 5. Grab a fish full of your favourite herbs, some butter, splash of oil, salt, pepper, a little bit of lemon juice just to give it a zest. Smush it all together in a Ziploc bag. And then you're going to cut the end off and squeeze that into the fish. So what you got your parchment, you got your fish, open it up, and you're just whacking all that beautiful juice, all that buttery goodness inside. Once you've done that, you're going to spray the second sheet of paper with oil and get ready to lay that on top. Now, just before you do whack that straight on top, you're going to throw in your tomatoes, your half-cooked potatoes. You're throwing in all your bits and bobs, your olives, anything that ain't going to change colour whilst it's cooking. Because the worst thing you want is a brown-looking green bean, so we're going to keep that set aside. Whack the second sheet on top and whack the second sheet of paper on top, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to slowly fold them in. So you're folding all the corners, starting with the bottom into the top, so using it from all sides. The goal for that is not to let loose any of the juices. Once you've folded that all the way up to the fish, so everything's nice, snug, and you want to be using your thumbnails or fingernails to kind of draw those lines in so it really holds it in place so it doesn't open up as you're cooking. Once you've done the folding, whack it straight into the oven. Now, we're recommending a 10 to 15 minutes cooking because, mate, you caught it, you want to eat it. I understand. So we're going to be setting it at 180 to 200 degrees Celsius. Now, we're going hot and heavy because we want to get the job done as quickly as possible. The potatoes are half cooked. All we're really doing is getting those juices flowing, letting that fish cook to the right amount. Um, whilst the fish is in the oven, you're just going to blanch the beans. Have them any way you like. Blanching's a recommendation. It's nice. It's easy. How do you know when you're good to go? Just lightly press on the paper from the top until you can feel the flesh somewhat fall apart. You also notice that if you use your thumb, you're going to leave a little indentation into the fish. If it doesn't pop back, it means it's ready to go. Now, for anyone who doesn't trust their thumbs or fingers, I recommend getting a metal skewer, whack it in for about 10 seconds into the thickest part of the fish. What you're going to do is you're going to take it back out and put it on your wrist. Anywhere on your wrist, that's going to signify exactly how hot it's going to be. If you put it on your wrist and you're like, she's ready. She's ready, mate. Then you place the paper on a plate, whack off the top layer, add some green beans and any extra herbs and a few slices of lemon. Butter, big butter, boom, you've got your entire meal in front of you. And the best part is, if you do it well, you've got to wipe those dishes down, mate. That paper will hold it all.
Now, I haven't had tea yet, and I've sat there listening to that, and that sounds absolutely delicious. But I think what we will have to do there is put that up exactly how you've written it down on the website and also the Facebook page, because, like I said, some fish you can get out of the water, kill and gut, slap it in a bit of little bit of flour and give it a shallow fry and give it a sprinkle of salt and she's done. But that sounded like quite the process, but it did sound delicious. What do you reckon, Dylan?
I reckon that I wish I didn't fillet me trout, because then I could have just literally done it exactly as Dane said. But I've already committed. I'm already filleted.
There you go. See, that's interesting, and that might be a topic that we can get our teeth into. Filleting trout. I've never filleted a trout, so I've always been shown that you just remove the guts from the gut cavity, drag your knife through the little bit of backbone and drag that blood out of the backbone, and pull the gills out, because I think I don't know whether it's factual or not. We'll have to ask our resident scientific expert in Andrew Pender as to whether removing the gills slows down that process of the fish going off. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be an interesting question to find out who fillets their trout. Normally, I think I don't fillet them because I'm not a really good trout fisherman. I don't catch very big ones, but sometimes when I get some Atlantic salmon from when we go down and net Macquarie Harbour, the trout are big enough to get the old electric knife, the big electric knife, and you just cut them into steaks, and I actually quite like Atlantic salmon on the barbecue like that. But yeah, it's interesting. Filleting trout, not something that I really do myself. It'd be interesting to know who does it out there in the wide world.
Who's pushing the envelope? You want
to know the whole reason why I do it? You want to know the whole reason why I do it? Because it's easy.
I want to know every single
easy step.
You literally cut and slide. I can't be bothered to cut up, pull the gills out, I can't be bothered. I've got to come home and then I've got to listen to you guys talk. Want to
touch the guts.
I've got to come home, listen to you guys talk, and then film a podcast and edit other videos. I don't want to gut fish. I'm just there to cut it, whip it, and throw it on.
Well, the one beautiful thing about this is, if you are similar to the styles of Dylan, very busy, you can just use it as your little stage, as you fillet your fish, mate. Just whack it in there. I would recommend, as the only addition to it, would be getting some like cooking string. So you whack one side down, skin down, still fill it whack all the good juicy buttery goodness in the middle, chuck one on top, and then use a bit of a wire, hold it in place so it still cooks, and you're getting that nice flavour throughout the entire fish. Still throw it in the parchment paper, and you're laughing.
What do you reckon?
Same principle.
You reckon you could get away with some 60-pound mono? 60-pound mono, you reckon you could still wrap her up, Hooch?
Don't know, I reckon mono might melt, to be honest, and end up in your tum-tums, but maybe some braid. But, we're filling in some gaps here, and we must apologise because we don't have many reports, and there's not a lot to talk about, and that's because the weather. It's no stranger to anyone that the weather has been an absolute disgrace over the last nearly 3 weeks now. Nearly 3 weeks. It's been very, very wet. I've been moving about the traps. All the rivers are up, so it really is going to mean that once we see a bit of sun and daylight savings comes at us, all these systems have had a real big clean out. So the estuary should come on. Hopefully, we'll start to have a few saltwater fishing reports. And it's not only the fact that the fishing has slowed down. I think the fishermen have slowed down. It's dark, it's miserable, it's cold. The wind has just been absolutely insane. The amount of trees that are down on the northwest coast, ludicrous. The amount of people that lost power. I spent some of the weekend ferrying around some generators to people that had lost power for days and days and days. And so once it all settles down, I feel we'll have a much better podcast and we'll have a much better report. So we're just filling in a bit of time with Patsy Cline. And of course the leader of the big brass band, Tom's not here. He's up in the Northern Territory. Bless his heart. So just for this last, 10 minutes, let's. I just thought I might just take the whole show over and just ask a few questions of the boys because it's good to know, who's on the podcast. And so, Dylan, I'm just going to ask you some, and I do apologise for being impromptu, but just some, and of course, Dean, I'll get to you, just some interview type questions. So, Dylan, you're the youngest of the group. You adding some youthful exuberance. I'm just wondering who was your inspiration or who got you into fishing?
I like it.
Well, growing up, Mum and Dad were very into their fishing, like they used to do all the tuna comps and stuff like that down the East Coast. And then I sort of came along and started to, we'd go surf fishing and would go brim fishing, and then it sort of got to the stage where I'd just sit back and be like, oh, I want more, but neither of my parents can take me fishing this weekend, so I'd sit on YouTube and start to learn how to, what can I look for to go fishing nearby, and then I found that, you go fishing for trout nearby in some of the rivers, and then I'm like, one thing that, for anyone that sort of watched my videos personally for a very long time is I live probably about 5 minutes away from the Cataract Gorge in Lonnie, which no one talks about as a fishing spot. It's a part of the South Ex, but it's right down the bottom. And I just literally went there and I'm like, nah, there's got to be fish here. It's a South Esk River. There's flow, there's food, there's got to be fish here. And then I just started peppering that, and then the very first fish I caught out of there was 78 centimetre Atlantic salmon on a bait caster with mono on a Tassie Devil that was right at the boardwalk there, at the little bridge that goes sort of in between over that little river, that shallow bridge that sometimes flood. And the funny thing was, I didn't even realise when I went down there and it just got dropped off. So it was one of the walk to the game days it was a Hawthorn footy game in town, and it was some cause that everyone was walking to the footy game for a certain cause. So there was thousands of people walking past, and I'm just there 12, no idea, just throw it out this bait caster about 4 meters, and yeah, it was just hooked up to this Atlantic salmon. And then when I got it in, that was probably the moment where I really got interested in it, because that was sort of the first time that I'd really made a plan, thought why I want to fish there, thought why the fish are going to be there, and it just pretty much excelled from there.
Yeah, nice. That's pretty cool. And so that Atlantic salmon, that would have been washed out of the system through a flood event, you'd think, or how do you think that Atlantic salmon would have ended up there?
It's sort of interesting because I genuinely have no idea. It was a very thin, it wasn't one of those big Atlantic salmon they get where it's huge. The thing was a noodle. There's no, you say 78 centimetre Atlantic salmon, it sounds better than saying a 3-pound Atlantic salmon that was 78 centimetres long and this thick.
A pike.
Basically, yeah, I'm genuinely not sure. It would have to be a thing where it just flowed down, because there's nowhere below that would get to stock that would flow up. I'd say it'd be something of a case that, say it got stocked in Brumbies, which is about 30 kilometres upriver, and then that flows into oh God, you're pushing it here. That flows into the Meander, or I think, and then that flows into the South Esk, or it flows straight into the South Esk. Don't quote me. So yeah, it'll be something
And so
like
you're thinking that it's come out of maybe that. What about the Cressy ponds and that backwater at the back of Cressy that holds those fish? Is it possible it's come from there, or is that the North Esk?
That's
I don't know.
Brumby's
I'll have to
Creek.
have a look at a map.
That's Brumby's
Maybe
Creek.
someone from the podcast can. Is it?
Yeah, that's
Well, there
what
you
I
go.
was. Yeah. Yeah. So I'd say
Yeah.
it
Well,
got
that might
stocked
be
in
good. Yeah,
there.
that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'd say it got stocked in there as a good fish, and just struggled to adapt to a wild situation. Flowed down river, and then yeah, just got to the bottom, and it saw the first thing that moved in about 30 days from it swimming down Serene. I thought I'll have a piece of that, even though it was a bit of metal with a treble hook on it. It was probably meant for kingfish, and yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's pretty cool. But what every fisherman's got a bucket list, or a bucket list item, or a bucket list species. What is your bucket list trip or species that you'd like to aim for?
Probably I've fished with, I've got a good mate, Jed Rouse and Josh Stokes, that are in Victoria, and they are little Murray cod fiends. They absolutely love that. And I was meant to go over and fish with Jed Rouse, would have been last year, but like last minute, just life commitments, had to pull through her. But yeah, no, we've been talking about it recently. Like, we're gonna have to try and get up there, because Murray cod are sick. Like, they are a big native Australian fish. Like, they are huge, and just like, especially some of the takes you get, like the top water fishing for them is insane. You just throw out this big thing with wings on it, like a glorified fish cake, and just crank it back, and then they just come out of nowhere and smack it. Like, I think it's just such a cool style of fishing, especially since I'm 90% freshwater at the moment. Like, going off that, that'd be probably the next list fish that I will look into ticking off. But yeah.
Yeah, cool. And I mean, such an iconic fish too, the Murray cod. They've been written about a great deal. You'll find them in a lot of literature, early settlers, poems, and even there was a cartoon. Not many people will know this because I'm old, but there used to be a cartoon called Jolliffe's. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that. Jolliffe's Outback, and it was about this. I think it was a farmer, and it was just a cool, iconic cartoon. And things used to go wrong, but he always used to love going fishing, and they'd have these drawings illustrated these massive Murray cod sitting under these banks, and it was something that stirred something in me too. I've only had a go at Murray cod fishing twice, and it was a bit lacklustre. It was on a bit of a whim, but yeah, definitely a fish that I would like to tick off the bucket list. I've never caught a Murray cod, and as an Australian, that's a bit sad. Now, Dean, obviously you're new to the fishing, and we cater for everyone here on the podcast. But my question I've got from you while the boss is away. So, Thomas is a mad keen fisherman. He's fished all his life. He's worked in tackle stores pretty much all his life.
Yeah.
He's probably in the Northern Territory now, one for a holiday, but two, I no doubt he'd be wetting a line somewhere. So he's very, very keen recreational fisher. So how did you guys meet, and give us some dirt on some of your goings on?
Oh, wow, wow. All right, well, how do you say this in a politically correct term? So we kind of first met down at a beautiful spot called Robbie Brown's. It's on Kingston Beach.
Yep.
Over the understanding of a good craft beer, would you believe?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so had a couple of...
Is there such a thing? Is there such a thing as a good craft beer? Because I'm anti-craft beer. You know, beers are Victoria Bitter, Bogues Draft, Cascade Lager, and the rest of them just go jump. Like, they're just trying to make beer out of strawberries and mangoes and bloody goat's cheese, and then they want to put a flowery label on it.
No.
They've got fridges like totally designed for these craft beers. I walked into it back in the middle of the craft beer craze. I walked into a bottle shop that was down south. It was Moz's favourite bottle shop there at Howrah, and they were doing some renovations. And I just said straight out, "You're not making more room for some shit craft beers, are you?" And he looked at me a bit sheepishly and red-faced and said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, we are."
Nice one. Yeah, so a craft beer love affair is probably how we first started, but we also had a mutual friend by the name of Rob Lane.
Oh, there you go.
To have in his shed a beautiful at-home bar.
He does.
I was invited up there several times, and we just hit it off. I think my favourite personal moment with the beautiful man was when the wonderful COVID-19 decided to drop an appearance. The whole country goes into lockdown kind of thing, you know, everyone gets stood down from their jobs. Me being a Kiwi, stood down without any source of income, down to like my last $80. And I was just like, I have the opportunity of getting a flight home, or I'll pay rent and see if I can make another week or two. And lo and behold, Tommy gives me a call. He's like, "Hey, Dane, you wouldn't be interested in running a food truck, would you?" And I was like, "Oh, look, mate, it's either we do something about it now or I fly out tomorrow. What's the go?" And he's like, "What do you?" I'm like, "I've got $80 outside of a potential flight ticket." And he's like, "That'll do." So I took my $80, went and bought bits and bobs. The next day, we got completely committed to Wolf Pit Barbecue. That little naughty number.
I remember that. I remember a bit of Wolf Pit Barbecue carry on, yeah.
Oh, it was good. It was amazing. Beef, lamb, everything but chicken. And the main reason I went against the whole chicken front, hear me out, when you smoke things, they go pink. And when someone sees pink chicken, the first thing they think of is, "That ain't cooked, mate. I want my money back," etc., etc., etc.
Yep.
Yeah, nah, it's smoked. But that kind of conversation, it's just not going to win over customers, man. So I was like, just avoid it, you know? Just avoid the whole thing. Art of war. Why let it happen? So, yeah. We had an absolute laugh, a riot. We did functions, weddings, markets, started up at the old Kingston Bunnings, just opposite there. The only place, the only thing that can beat a Bunnings snag, mate, is a Wolf Pit roll.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's a great story, and it fills in a few gaps for our listeners. But just to sign off and to finish, of course, Thomas being away, Dylan, he hasn't really told us what the prize is going to be for members this week. So where can they find that information out?
So pretty much, if you haven't followed us on our social media pages, Facebook and Instagram, we've got Snagged Podcast or Snagged Podcast and giveaways. We do like a heap of promo work. Like for instance, we recently gave away a spot on the charter that we gave away last week on social media, completely free. So if you haven't gotten on to the good old social medias and followed us over there, head over there, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and yeah, we'll put a post up, probably be me stuck on one of my rods again like it was last week, and yeah, we'll tell you all the dates on there. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps us up. We're a bit unorthodox, but we got through in the end, so thank you very much for watching till the end. Make sure to get over to the website, get into a membership so you can get onto whatever we're giving away. I don't know. We can probably afford a Coke can. We might give you away an empty Coke can. How's that sound?
No, I am sure it'll be something. Thomas will have something up his sleeve that'll
Absolutely
be well worth the effort. And we can't sign off without you trying to do your stupid balloons.
Come on.
Give it a red hot go.
Come on, shoot.
Let's go. And also, let us know if you give the recipe a go and you want some more. Well, I'm down the clown.
There you go, beautiful work.
And
that recipe, it'll be up online. So, Dean, if you could get that written out, and we'll make that look good online, and we'll post it on the Facebook. All right, cheerio. Until next time. Catch us later.
Thank you
Bada bing,
very
bada
much
boom.
for watching.
Peace.
We'll see you guys next time. Balloons on demand, baby. Woo!